Today on the show, we've got special guest Coco joining us. He's going to drop a Jeff Buckley track on us, and we are going to bless it with a My Bloody Valentine track. It's a little bit longer episode, but sit back and enjoy. It's a good one. Welcome to episode 30 of I Got a Song. Come on. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to I Got a Song. This is episode 30, episodio 30. Today, we have Michael Long. Say hello, sir.
Hello. Hi. Yes. Welcome.
Thank you for joining us on your show today.
Thank you for having me on my show.
I'm so excited.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Did you hear me? I almost said I'm so excited. I really am, though. Again. Okay, I got it. All right, guess what? Today we have a guest.
Yes, it's always exciting. This will be our third guest, I believe, right, over the history of the show?
Yes, correct. And it's been a while since we had a guest. I don't think we've had a guest since episode,
it has been.
15 or something?
Something like that, yeah.
So today we have a friend of the show, friend in life, Coco is with us today. Say hello, Coco.
Hey, howdy.
Yes. It's so glad to have him.
We are.
So glad to have you today,
man. We are way excited to have him on.
Yes, we've been wanting to do this for a while, and probably since, the earliest days of the show, I've talked about how Coco has introduced me to so much music, and has really, kind of altered the trajectory of a lot of my life when it comes to music and taste and everything. And so I'm just so thrilled and excited to get to have my brother on today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And yeah, you said it, brother. Glad to be here.
I was going to say, was Clay eventually going to leave out that minor detail that
I was
yours brother?
Hey, brother.
I was debating on whether to let everybody know, but I've already mentioned it before, so there's no point in.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So Coco is my brother, and from. Is just about as far back as I can remember. We've been in a house that had music, and he took a different direction from what we were brought up on, and I listened to what he was listening to, and then we just and now here we are, and just so happy to have him. So he's brought a song today. That's what we normally do when we have a guest. We'll give him a little bit of a homework assignment. Say, hey, bring a song that either spoke to you recently, or maybe it something you want to talk about, something you've got some information about, something like that. And so yeah, he's. I believe you've brought a song today. Is that right?
I got a song, baby.
Nice.
Oh,
well, we in turn, Clay and I collaborated somewhat on a song to present to you as well. So it's going to be a twofer episode where you brought a song for us, we brought one for you, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
All right, absolutely. Well, I can't wait to get started. You want me to just start talking about my song?
Well, right quick, Mikey, you want us to do a little bit of housekeeping, just get the introductions out of the way, where to find us, that kind of stuff?
Oh, yeah. So we are on most major podcast platforms, so you can find us on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music. Those are the four major platforms, right,
yeah,
Clay?
Those are the ones we're on at the moment, yes, sir.
Clay's big producer, Clay, so he's more in tune with some of this stuff than I am. But we've also got the Google voicemail, and Clay, you want to drop that number?
Yes, Google voicemail, if you want to find us, is 323-903-SONG-7664. If you want to give us a call, we'd love to hear your voice. Nobody has done it yet.
Hey, we provide opportunities. That's what we do.
So if you'd like to reach out to us, we'd love to hear your voice, and maybe put your friendly thoughts in audio form on the show. 323-903-SONG. And there it is.
All right. And you can also find us on Instagram and X, formerly known as Twitter. I believe on Instagram it's I Got a Song Podcast. And then on X, it's I Got a Song Pod. So anyway, moving on. Let's roll right into this thing because I feel like we got a lot of ground to cover here. And Corey, if you want to kind of roll into yours, let's devour your pick.
Okay, I'm ready, and I'm so excited to share this song with you guys. I don't remember ever having spoken with Clay about this song. We may have shared it, or he may have heard me listening to it in passing, but I don't remember ever having talked to him about this. And I don't know, Michael, I don't know your specific trajectory through music, but I know kind of where you are now. And I wouldn't be surprised if this had come across your headset over the years.
Okay.
Because this song in particular really got popular right about the time you guys were graduating high school. I just kind of put that together last night because I didn't discover it until really the early 2000s. But do you guys know the name Scotty Moorhead?
Nope.
It sounds familiar.
It does sound familiar, but
I thought that was like
that's not the
is
name
that a basketball player? Is he a basketball player?
He's
play for the Knicks.
This is not I got a basketball player, is it now?
I got a sport.
Scotty from Anaheim, Orange County. This kid, born 1966. His mother was a classically trained musician and a singer, and his father was also a musician of just a kind of minor, very lesser known kind of 60s folk pop jazz singer. I'm not going to tell you his name because that'll give it away. But if at any point when I'm describing this, you know who I'm talking about, say I know who you're talking about. But
okay,
I'm stumped.
I'll go on.
Oh, please do. This is okay. I'm really curious. Keep going.
Yeah. So he was a session musician for many years. He trained to be a musician. He wanted to be a musician, and he just really never got any traction. But let me just give you a couple of things that people have said about him since his one and only album came out in 1994.
Dang.
Let me just pop over to these quotes here because this is worth reading specifically what this guy had and how much they appreciated his music. And they went on to praise him, and this album became one of the top 500 albums of all time in Rolling Stone. And he has a song on that album that I know for sure you will know. Although the reason you'll know it is kind of a bummer.
Ooh.
But he was also any ideas yet? Nothing?
No, not yet.
Okay, he was named one of People Magazine's top 100 most beautiful people.
What?
Which
and this person's name is
really bothered him.
Scott Moorhead.
Scotty Moorhead.
Scotty Moorhead.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, there's more to say about him, but those are the main superlatives. And
wow.
Should we just listen to the song now?
Yeah.
Or
should
I tell you who the artist
to us in the chat, and then we'll we'll take it from there.
Okay. 1 second to get that link.
I'm really curious about this. This is, man, the suspense is killing me.
Coco knows how to build up a,
Oh.
Yeah, just send it like you would send me any song in a text.
I put it into the Riverside chat.
Oh my, okay. There it is.
Okay. Well, wait a minute.
Do you know it?
Stand by.
To a Jeff Buckley track.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
We got Last Goodbye by Jeff Buckley.
Yeah. Do you know it?
I know Jeff Buckley.
I might. I know Jeff Buckley, yeah.
Okay.
It's been a long time.
He only put out one record?
Well, technically, this is his only release. Yes, I mean, there's more stuff out there, but
okay, yeah.
And I'll share more of the details why his name changed and all that business. But there it is.
Okay, awesome.
Can we listen to it all together?
Yeah, I'm totally excited to listen to this Jeff Buckley track.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
We listen to it together right now, or
I don't know if we're able to all listen to it together while we're recording.
I don't think we can while we're recording.
And then for those reasons, we're not able to put it all in there. So what we're going to do is normally at this time, what we'll stop and we'll go listen to the song, and we recommend that the listener does the same thing, and then take a little break, listen to it, and we'll come back, and then we will continue our discussion.
Excellent. Sounds good.
All right. We'll be right back. We're going to go listen to Jeff Buckley. What is it again?
Last Goodbye
by Jeff
from the album Grace, 1994.
Awesome. All right.
Nice.
We'll be back.
Let's do this.
From the 1994 album Grace, that was Jeff Buckley with the song The Last Goodbye.
Last Goodbye.
I had to switch tabs. I forgot I forgot the name of the show.
Yeah.
All right.
Nice.
Last Goodbye, Jeff Buckley. What did you guys think?
I liked it. Definitely instantly recognizable on the voice. I had not heard this song myself. Clay, I don't know about you, but yeah, I liked it. I liked it. It's kind of a smooth, flowy song, but man, he's got some vocal range. It's pretty incredible. Going from like a kind of a mid-level voice all the way up to those kind of falsetto parts in the singing. That was really neat. Thank you.
Well, I like what you said there about his voice. I mean, it's like the rest of the music is good and it's a good song, but yeah, his voice is what really is the standout feature, of that song. And I know I know I'd heard it before because I knew the album and I had the album. I'd listened to it a couple times, but it's not something I've listened to in a really long time. And if you were to put it on, I think I would recognize it from the voice, but I don't think I would remember having heard that song. It didn't ring out as familiar, if that makes sense.
Yeah, same. And I like I said, I don't know much Jeff Buckley material, although I know he did that cover of Hallelujah.
Oh man, yes.
Yeah, that's actually that's the tie-in that I wanted to bring up, because as much as I hate to admit it, Jeff Buckley came to my attention after the 2001 movie Shrek, in which J.J. Cale's version of Hallelujah was featured, and it's a terrific song, and I love the song Hallelujah, and Leonard Cohen's version is sad and kind of awful and beautiful in a way. J.J. Cale's version is more like a church sing-along, the one that they put in Shrek. It's a great song. Everybody can love that song. But the way Jeff Buckley sings it, because I was like, they said Jeff Buckley's version of Hallelujah was based on the J.J. Cale version, not the Leonard Cohen version. They're all the same song, but they just have a different way of expressing the emotion. And Jeff Buckley's song, I remember hearing it and thinking, no, this is a completely different song. Same lyrics, same chords, same everything, but the way he sings it is amazing. And Last Goodbye was it was the second single off the album. I think the first single was either Grace or Eternal Life. But I think it came out in 94, and then 95, sometime around summer of 95 was when The Last Goodbye charted, and it peaked at 149 on the Billboard chart. And that's about all that action got. Now, it took probably 10 years for the album to go gold, but I think it finally went gold in maybe 2007.
Oh, wow.
I think it sold 2 million copies. Now, what's interesting about Grace, the album, and I'm jumping around here, but the album, they say is big overseas. 7 million copies sold in Australia.
What?
So, he had a bigger following over there than he did here.
Wow.
And I may have mentioned already the superlatives: Dylan, Bowie, Chris Cornell, Jimmy Page, Robert Plant, all took notice of this guy. And his father, Tim Buckley, like I mentioned before, I didn't say his name, but he was actually of interest. And I don't know if you do show notes or not, but I can send you a link. Tim Buckley actually appeared on the television show The Monkees, singing one of his songs.
No kidding!
What?
Yeah, you can see this this appearance, and you can hear Mickey Dolenz say, "Ladies and gentlemen, Tim Buckley." And he plays this beautiful little song, and he's got this crazy, awesome afro. He just looks like right out of the scene.
Oh, that's beautiful. So
nice.
Cool.
This is Tim Buckley. Long afloat on shiftless oceans, I did all my best to smile.
Oh, Clay's on a mission now.
I'm grabbing I'm going to YouTube right now.
I'll send you. I put these links together, and I'll send them to you. There's a lot of connections that I know that Clay will like, and I know everyone will appreciate. But, this album comes out, and he had been a session musician for almost 10 years in LA, and he moved to New York, and he was like trying to do gigs on the side. It sounds like he was, he had this one club that he would wash dishes, and then he would play, and people started to give him some recognition, and he started, coming into his own and finding his voice. And there's a little EP called Live at Sin. It's spelled S-I-N, and there's a space and an E with a apostrophe or whatever. And it's a little EP of some of his live recordings from that time. And it's pretty cool. And then he got signed on that, The Power of His Voice, and the kind of music he was putting out was really weird and interesting. And then they put this band together and they recorded Grace, and it had minor success. It had, like I said, the album, I think the song Last Goodbye charted at 149. And I feel like there was a couple of other songs on there that gave him some recognition, and they did tours for a few years. But what ultimately happened to Jeff, and this is why we only got one album from him, is because, like so many rock stars of his generation, he died before his time.
Oh, he's dead?
In your wisdom you took him, Lord. 1997.
Oh, man, really?
He was 3 years, two and a half years off the success of Last Goodbye. He toured, and there's a lot of recordings from this time because everyone was excited to see what he would come up with next. And there is a release called Sketches for My Sweetheart the Drunk, which compiles some of the new material he was working on and some of the previous stuff. And then there's just, this is a cult. He has a cult following just like any other cult following. But it's real deep. There's YouTube channels that have literally 30-second clips of someone mentioning.
Wow.
Chris Cornell. There's I think a 1-minute clip of Chris Cornell saying something about the album, and there's a clip of Robert Plant saying, "Hey, me and Jimmy went to see him, at the so and so room, and he was amazing." And so there was a lot of hype and a lot of press. And then he moved to Memphis to record his second album, and his band was on their way end of May 1997. They were coming in to start recordings for the new album. They had everything lined out, and he and the roadie were sitting by the banks of the river, Mississippi River, the Wolf River, tributary to the Mississippi, there in Memphis. He jumped in his clothes and was singing the chorus from a Led Zeppelin song. I can't think of it right now. And a tugboat goes by, and the waves start to wash up on the shore. His roadie turns around to move the radio, and when he turns back around, Jeff Buckley's gone. And he wasn't found until June 4th, 1997, my birthday. And that was the end of Jeff Buckley, the end of his, physical life. But as you can tell, he lives on. And I think the thing that strikes me the most about this is that this is, like you said, about the song. It's a good song. It's a 90s song. It's jangly. It's got an awesome bass line. It's got strings. It's super. I mean, it's overproduced. They put so much into it. And it's a pretty good song. And several of the songs on this album are like that. They're good songs. You're like, oh, this could be a hit. But his voice is singular. And there's nothing like it. And this is the thing that I don't think I realized when I first listened to him. I just thought, oh, he sings kind of cool. He's got this like high vibrato, but the more you listen to it, the more you realize what kind of control he has over his vocals.
Yes.
And you can actually find among his many cult followers, vocal nerds, people who are into vocal music, people who like to hear a cappella. They'll isolate his vocals and just to listen to it. There's scans of the vibrato of his voice that show how perfectly it is. It's amazing. Wow. And one of the coolest things about him that I heard about this early on, I think I was probably, like I said, about 2000s, in the 2000s, maybe a little bit post, was that he was a big fan of Sufi music. Sufi, some kind of a Indian religion.
Sufi music refers to the devotional music of the Sufis, inspired by the works of Sufi poets like Rumi, Hafiz, Bulleh Shah, Amir Khusrau, and Khwaja Ghulam Farid. Qawwali is the best-known form of Sufi music and is most commonly found in the Sufi culture in South Asia.
Oh, okay.
They have this vocal style that is very, kind of a vibrato.
Like very vibrato heavy, yeah.
Yeah, high vibrato. There's a singer named Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan, who was the most popular singer of them. And you can actually find his music in world music. I remember seeing it at Tower Records, in the 2000s. And it's world music, but it's vocally, it's just strange to us a little bit. But Jeff Buckley latched onto this, and he was such a good mimic that he was able to copy. At one point, they said that he was actually able to sing these songs perfectly without knowing the language of Urdu, which is what they're sung.
Wow.
And he gained the attention of this guy who's kind of a spiritual master, worldwide well-known Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan. And then on his Live at Shine EP, I think that's the one where it is, or maybe it's on one of the previous, the later versions. There's a version of him singing it live in a club, and it's amazing. Now,
very cool.
He spent a lot of time in the studio on this album, and you can tell because every vocal performance is just, the closer you listen to it, the more perfect it becomes. And if you go listen to some of his live stuff, you can tell that took a lot of work to get that right. But there's some live recordings where he does it, and you can't tell that. It was one take, and it's perfect all the way through. And it's just, every time I listen to it, it's an emotional ride because the music is great. And then knowing how he died, and then you listen to the lyrics on this song. This is our last goodbye, dream and always see your face. And he talks about it. Feels like, this can't be happening to me. Did you rush to the phone and call? It's like, oh my God, somebody's dying. I mean, you read that stuff in later, but there's a lot of that symbolism throughout this album, and some of his other stuff I didn't really get into, but it really is deep. And just, if you listen to this whole album, it's weird because it goes up and down. It's got pop songs. It's got what you might call it classical pieces. There's a couple of pieces that sound like opera. He has a voice that sounds almost like castrati, like, the high pitched, old timey, where they would cut the kids, they would neuter the boys so they could keep their high voices. He has that sound. He has that sound. It's Michael Jackson also has a really high singing voice, and if you listen to his speaking voice, it's very high. It's interesting. He has
a high pitched kind of
yeah. So that, I guess that those are the main points I wanted to hit. I thought it was funny too that in that period between, he had some minor fame for this album. He got named top 100 most beautiful people. If you look at him, he looks like, there's pictures of him where you would think it was James Franco.
Yeah.
And there's
I'm looking at the cover of his album here.
Yeah. Okay. So, this is confusing. The cover of the album, he looks like a crooner from the 50s. It's like a Michael Bublé cover with that big
on that mic,
with that big microphone.
Yeah, that old school. There's a name for it.
And the silver shiny jacket. So it's funny because it doesn't. When you see that picture, you don't. When you listen to the song "Eternal Life," which was my second pick, it's hard not to go. When you listen to that, it's like if you were just listening to "Eternal Life" out of context, you would go, "This is a metal band." And this guy is singing like one of the great hairband metal singers of all time, like high pitched, like way out there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I didn't even think of that. You could really.
And then he'll do this, and he'll do a classical song. It's just the quietest, most perfect little. It sounds like an opera piece, a minute and a half, and then the Hallelujah song. Okay, on the Hallelujah song, I think it's been named in the top 500 greatest songs of all time or performances or whatever by Rolling Stone. That song has a sequence of him holding a note perfectly for 23 seconds.
Oh, geez.
Which is a long time. I mean, I go through and listen to that song every once in a while, and you got to take a deep breath, and you go, hallelujah, and he just goes for about 23 seconds. But it's so perfect.
Hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah.
This album is just, I know it's not I Got an Album, but it really is. It's hard not to listen to this. It's hard not to cry when you listen to this because the power of his voice is just amazing.
I'm glad you brought that up, though. Like, it's obviously the show is not called I Got an Album, but there's been so many episodes we've done where I know I've done it, where I've picked a song really to represent the artist and not necessarily the song itself, or represent the album and not necessarily the song itself. Like we just did that with. I say I did that with. We did a Van Morrison episode a couple episodes ago, and my song, I've got a great story attached to it. The song "Crazy Love" by Van Morrison, but that whole album is just near and dear to me, and I highlighted a little bit of that album when we were talking about it, you and I, Clay, and I know Van Morrison is not Clay's jam or anything, but I'm still gonna put a spotlight on that whole album any chance I get. But my personal connection to the song "Crazy Love" is what kind of kicked open the door to the whole album, and so I'd imagine Corey, that's kind of the same thing with you, where like you picked a song that's kind of representative of the album and the man himself, right?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it wasn't about a song; it was about the whole album. And this song, I feel like captures captures the soft side, the pop side, the vocal side, and it's enough of an introduction to people. I mean, it was really a toss up because the song "Eternal Life" is I think it's probably the best song on the album. But the way it starts, it almost sounds like a Tool song. I mean, there is a heavy, like, just destructive bass line that starts that song off, and you're like, I'm listening to metal music. But
nice.
Like I said, the rest of the album, it has those moments. It's all over the place. Like I said, hey, I mean, David Bowie said it was a desert island album, so
wow.
Call it for what it is.
That's so cool. And it's like, and the fact that you said he was a session musician, right? So I mean, he was just kind of a workhorse type of guy for a bunch of other artists, and just finally kind of stepped out on his own to record. And
I think what happened was, and see, now his father, he had the legacy of being the son of Tim Buckley, who was the folk singer. And one of the cool things about Tim Buckley was his voice. It was similar. He had a high-pitched kind of voice, and he has this wavy vibrato way he sings. And Jeff's definitely affected by that, but he never knew his father. And in fact, his father died when he was age 8, and he didn't even he wasn't even invited to the funeral. I mean, there's a song that Tim Buckley wrote about having to leave his wife and son. It's about Tim Buckley and his mom, and Tim Buckley was raised by his mom and his stepfather. And they had a concert in New York that was to commemorate Tim Buckley, and Jeff at the time was not out there. He performed obviously as a session musician and was doing gigs here and there. And they asked him to come and perform at his dad's memorial concert, and he was like, well, I don't know how I feel about that. But that basically the performance that he did there, which he sang the song about his dad leaving him and his mom. He sang that at that performance.
Wow.
And a couple of other songs. And it really made a mark. And the press was like, wow, that's intense. But, he said, basically, this was my way of, attending my father's funeral that I never got to attend. Oh. So he closed that chapter on his dad.
Wow.
And then he went on at that point. He had, limos lined up to see him playing at clubs, a couple months later.
Wild, yeah.
So, he had the chops, and his musical skills are, they kind of fall down to the wayside, but there's basement tapes of him just playing hours of reggae, and he's
interesting,
amazing. Like, he's a mimic. He has a voice. He can mimic any vocal style, and he decided to mimic the most complicated vocal style you could do with the Sufi music thing. But you can listen to him going back. He does country and reggae, and he just does all these little styles just as like a goof while he's sitting in his basement with his acoustic guitar. And he's an incredible musician. But, a lot of people say, and this is, I'll stop talking about it now, but a lot of people wonder, what would Jeff Buckley be like had he not died that day? And just my opinion is the second album wasn't really looking like it would have been a sophomore release, and who knows, he could have ended up being, something major, but it almost seems fitting that it ended where it did. And we just have this beautiful piece that we can look at. And as far as Last Goodbye is concerned, it's a great representation of his music. And I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you'll listen to some more of this.
We will, and
I'm going to check out some more.
I'm for sure going to re-listen to Grace. I know it's been a while, and this is reminded me and reignited my interest. And I'm for sure going to do it. That's definitely going to be a self-imposed homework assignment.
You'll enjoy it.
Nice.
So I like what you were saying about.
Thank you for the share, Corey.
Yeah, it's such a good selection. And it's actually what you were just saying is a really good transition into our next song, because you were gracious enough to bring us a song, but hey, we got a song too. And when you're talking about the placement of a song in the context of an album, that's That's important, and I think that is going to make sense here in just a sec, because I'm going to go ahead and send. I don't really have Michael. Do you have a lead up question or anything for this song? This is one of the few opportunities where you and I got to work together and select a song together, because we're usually working, separately. You
and I, prior to the show, we were brainstorming this thing with after we had settled on the song, and I don't really have a good lead up question. I'm kind of hoping you do, but
nope.
Okay. So the only preface I'll say is that, Corey, you will definitely know this song. You will know this artist. I am in the process, a really long and slow process of coming around on this artist. For a long time, I didn't get it, and I'm still not quite there yet. But and you might see what I mean when we share the song. But I know for a fact, I just know that you know it and will love it.
All right, Corey, if you'll take a look in the in our group text message that we have, that the song should be there. All right.
We're gonna listen to this like we did last time.
Yeah. Do you see what the song is? Do you see what it is?
Coming up.
Oh, you still don't see it.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
There it is. Nice.
Now we're talking.
Nice.
Very good. Very good.
That's the reaction we like. Where it's like, oh yeah.
All right, so we've got Soon by My Bloody Valentine. Okay, we recommend everybody go take a listen to that song and then tune back in, and we're going to talk all about it. Here we go. From the 1990 EP Glider, that was Soon by My Bloody Valentine. And back with us we have Coco. Man, oh my gosh, we were loving life listening to that one, weren't we, man?
Oh my goodness, it is such a jam. I can't get over it.
My only regret with this song is that it ended. That I want to hit repeat. Can we do it again? Let's listen again.
You guys do that, and I'll go have a bite.
Okay, here we go. All right, with that. No, just kidding.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to break once more. And
soon Michael will not be here.
Oh man!
I mean, this song
you guys tell me.
Yeah,
I need to know y'all's trajectory with My Bloody Valentine. Like how long you've listened? Did you get it at first? Did it land with you at first? Like what's kind of your arc with My Bloody Valentine?
Well, let me just say this one thing about this song. It only has two things to say, and that's. and the other thing, it goes back and forth in the two. I mean, My Bloody Valentine is kind of known as overdoing it sonically, but this song is about as minimal as it gets. It's really only two things. It's just the one part and the other part, and they go back and forth. And I can see why it might wear on a person. Maybe it's a minute too long, but something about that hook, you know what, that if it doesn't cause an earworm for you, let me suggest that if you have an earworm, that'll get you out of it. Just that little and you're back to normal.
Nice.
Yeah, it is so hooky and earwormy, and I mean it's not hooky and like like a Buddy Holly or something like that, but that loop, it's just and
yes.
So I heard when you asked about our trajectory, I heard about them from Coco, and this song, by the way, I mentioned it was on the 1990 EP Glider, but it was, later on. Right. It was the final track on Loveless, which is their big, most well-known, thing. It was the last track on the album. That ends the album. And what a way to end an album. I've got in my notes, like how many, I don't think of a lot of
think about that.
Songs that are like the last song on the album that do what this song does. It's usually like something that's kind of a track that's just like, we'll just kind of, put this on there. This is an okay track. We'll end the album with this. But this one is like, what the hell? It's amazing. And it's the last track on the album. And I know it wasn't written for the album. It was written prior. And I'm wondering, if it was thrown on the end, maybe for U.S. releases or something else like that. I didn't see anything like that in my research. Do you have any insight on that, Coco?
No, it fits perfectly. And I recognized it because you sent the version from the Glider EP. I recognized the album cover, but I don't think of that as a song anything other than the last track on.
I was just being annoying, but I was being obnoxious by sending it that way on the Glider EP.
No, but I'm glad you did because I forgot. That was before.
Yeah, the Glider EP is basically the Soon EP.
I don't know.
I mean the single. Sorry, it's basically a single.
Yeah. Soon with with the B-sides, right? Well, my exposure to this was, I guess I was in high school. I guess this came out in 91. I graduated in 91. So probably within the first couple of years there when the shoegaze and the Britpop scene was really starting to take place over in a little tiny college town in Kilgore, Texas. It finally reached us there in the late 92, 93, 94. I started getting into this stuff and they were making a splash. And I remember my buddy Jonathan had a copy of it, and I remember we were listening to it and I was like, I went immediately to buy it because I knew that just listening to his version, like in his car, wasn't going to do the trick. I needed it up close. I needed it to be mine. And I've probably bought at least 3 physical copies of
I'm so glad you touched on this because I didn't know how I was going to work it in, but I've bought at least 4 or 5 because I've given them to people.
Yeah, I've worn... I would have never given one, but I've lost them. I've worn one out. I had one scratched up to the point where you couldn't tell sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes you listen to a CD so many times and you just got to like, well, okay, I've just worn this one out. It's skipping too many times on the best parts and I just got to get a new one. Let's go buy new.
See that
but you know how...
I was just saying that's so interesting to me. And like Clay and I actually just had this conversation earlier this morning when we were kind of, pre-gaming our whole show this morning, and it was like I've known about My Bloody Valentine for a long time. It basically, via the two of you and Chris and all that, and I haven't really I have not given them their just due until very recently. So I'm still like kind of a newbie when it comes to My Bloody Valentine, but I kind of liken it to, like, I don't know how you feel about Radiohead or some of their like more experimental stuff. So I'm not the hugest Radiohead fan, and especially like everyone talks about how big and influential something like OK Computer is. I have tried so many times on that album, and it has
eluded you.
Never grabbed me. I was telling Clay,
Yeah.
just last week I listened to OK Computer. I listened to parts of every single track, and not a single one. I didn't make it through all the way through a single track on OK Computer.
Wow, I'm going to get. I get it. It's funny.
I'm not that way with My Bloody Valentine, but it's kind of the same thing where I told Clay I could listen to the song Soon, like every day and twice on Sunday over anything that Radiohead put out after the Bends. I just, but it's just kind of the same thing where it's especially now. It seems like in the last few years, I don't know what you guys have seen or noticed, but it's like there's been kind of this reawakening on bands like My Bloody Valentine from the '90s, because everyone always talks about Nirvana, Pearl Jam, all the big players from the '90s, but everyone's rediscovering all of this music that just was not as prevalent in the '90s as some of these other big bands were, and something like My Bloody Valentine is getting a lot of current critical airplay, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it, and so I'm doing my homework, Larry.
Is this your homework, Larry?
And I'm I mean, they're slowly so slowly growing on me, and the only reason I brought up Radiohead was just the fact that these albums that are so revered by so many people that just eluded me for so long, but I'm starting to get an ear for them that I never had before. So
I would.
This song actually, Clay, you came up with the song, and I feel like this was almost as much of a share for me as it is for you, Corey. Just because
you can put any song, you can put any My Bloody Valentine song for me.
Oh man,
anything from Loveless at least.
Yeah. And so I'm gonna stay on my journey here, and perhaps more than any other homework assignment I've had so far on the show. I think I'm going to get there. It's just taking me a while.
I think I can speak for Coco as well, but just Loveless, start to finish.
Just
do that a couple times. There really isn't.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if it doesn't do it for you, it's no biggie. I get it with the Radiohead thing. I remember listening to OK Computer. And then later realizing that all those stickers with that bear fang bear smile face sticker from the Radiohead bros. I didn't even know they existed. I was like, I don't identify with those people at all. I didn't have any idea there were that many fans. And that's one cool thing about My Bloody Valentine that I didn't realize. And Clay and I actually got to see them live in Dallas. And I don't remember what year that was, but it would have been in the 2008, maybe 8.
I think it was before. It was before MBV came out, wasn't it? The album MBV.
Yeah, I think so. But what I was surprised about was when we went to see them. It was a huge venue. There were so many people there. I couldn't believe this many people were into My Bloody Valentine. Like when we go see some of our other favorite bands, they're in a club. I mean, there might be 500 people. Would be a great showing for some of those bands from that era.
Oh wow!
I mean, Slowdive's getting a lot of coverage now. They've had a new album. They're touring again. They'll put on a show and maybe get 1,000 people, in one show. The My Bloody Valentine show had to have 4,000
we saw them.
People.
That's insane.
It was the same venue that we all saw Explosions in the Sky at, though, isn't it?
Was it the same venue?
Gillies.
What is it? What was that place again? Gillies.
That's what it's called, though. It's like Gillies is the name of the bar or something.
It's something else now, but
it's that venue.
Yeah, but it's the same.
I saw the Pumpkins there, and we saw Explosions. Okay. But yeah, that thing was packed.
Imagine they're as popular as Explosions in the Sky at any time. And they're that popular. I was surprised because I knew Explosions in the Sky was popular. I mean, I knew Radiohead's popular, but I didn't know these. What I thought was an obscure band from the 90s was so popular. And I mean, okay, so here's one of the things I wanted to point out about this song. Yes, it only does two things. It's the one part and the other part. Have you ever heard it? People talk about when they describe some of the very best comedians of all time, they go, "This is a guy who will take a topic, and he'll go over it." And you think, "Oh, that's pretty funny," and then he'll do it again, and "Oh, that's funny," and then he'll do it again.
Keeps building,
funnier and funnier. But he just keeps going and going and going beyond the point where you think there's no way he can go any further with this premise, and then they just keep going and going and going, and they just. To me, this is My Bloody Valentine's mastery. They've got some wild, crazy guitar sounds. Kevin Shields' guitar work is awesome. The drums are good. The bass is awesome. Everything works together. But they just take one little element in each little song and they just expand on that thing. And then they layer it and they bring it up and they bring it back down and they just explore one little idea. And it's all about finding that little idea in that song. And Soon's a great example of that. It's just, they found their formula. It's like, we got two real satisfying little hooks here. We're going to play them for you again and again and again and again. And at some point, this reminds me a little bit of one thing I forgot to mention about the Jeff Buckley song, The Last Goodbye. One of the things about that Sufi music, it's got this like repetition thing going to it. And you get into a place, you do this with all music, but that one in particular, and My Bloody Valentine does this to me, where you get into a place where you're just like, you're in a groove and it becomes kind of like this repetitive, motion. You're bobbing back and forth. The beat never changes. And the music it's almost becomes like, ecstatic. You have this ecstatic experience where you're listening and you just go, oh, wow. When I listen to Jeff Buckley, he gets those notes and I'm just like, oh my goodness. And I'm freaking out in my car and trying not to embarrass myself. I take my glasses off and clean them from the tears. And My Bloody Valentine doesn't do that for me emotionally, but what they do to my body, like when we saw them live, you can't imagine that sound just
pushing your body.
It was unbelievable. Yeah. Your physical body, like it. I mean, that's why I love live music, period. Mm-hmm. But the way they did it was something else. And I guess if you hadn't experienced it and you weren't there when it came out and it didn't do that magic for you, like you've got albums that came out that you love, and I'd be like the same way. I just don't get it. I know people love it, but if it's not for you, it's not. But for the people who get it, man,
nothing like it.
There's nothing like it. There's nothing like Loveless.
Yeah, that show.
It's funny how you talked about like the repetition side of it, because like Clay and I, again, we have all these conversations outside the scope of the show, and I was just talking this morning how like I really like electronic music, right? I love electronic music, dance music, techno, all kinds of stuff. But repetition is like key to electronic music. And there's a lot of like really popular electronic music that's the repetition just grates on my nerves just incessantly. And I dropped a couple of songs like Fatboy Slim's Rockefeller Skank, or what was that other one, Clay?
We talked about Daft Punk.
Daft Punk, Around the World. Around the world, around the world. Yeah.
I don't mind that so much.
And I can't listen. Clay is okay with it. I'm not okay with it. I skip that usually pretty quick. But, something like Soon with My Bloody Valentine, like you were talking about, is like there's a vibe to it that's just, even though it's not much more than those two hooks you're talking about, I mean, it flows really well. The music is meshes well together. It's concise. It hits the points it wants to hit, and I don't mind that kind of repetition at all. And so, I mean, I really like this track.
There's another track that I almost did instead of this one called "I Only Said," and it is also, Corey knows, Coco knows the one I'm talking about, but it has also got one of those little loops. And this one is more like I'm going to put a sample of it in. I'm going to put a little sample of it in here. But if we don't mind, let's pause for just a sec because I got to go to the bathroom, and we'll listen to that track.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm going to put a little sample of it in here. It's not going to do the whole song or anything, but let's listen to it for a minute. Let's take a quick break.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, man, that's another one of those little ones that's just got one of those little loops that.
Yep.
Oh man, those are those little earwormy things. I don't know what you call them, but they're just it's a riff or a hook or I don't know the word.
Look, here's what I use it for. If you ever get rickrolled and you have that song stuck in your head, you call upon My Bloody Valentine. You just pick a track, and in a few minutes, your brain will be cleansed until somebody gets you again.
That's hilarious.
Oh, it's a good earworm.
It is, and
positive earworm.
Back to that live show. This song, and I'm soon as well. But if you think that these go a little bit long. If you think that these go a little bit long in the in the album, live it goes even longer. How long would you say they did this song? This like what 15 minutes or something?
They couldn't have done it. They couldn't have done it any. I mean, they could not have done it too long.
No, it could have just kept going.
You wanted it, and the whole concert felt like they just went from one feeling like that to the next, and they're all so familiar to you. It's like nursery rhymes almost. It's good stuff. I mean, one of the things I'll say about soon. I mean, we obviously pointed out the stuff about the earworm. They're they find a sweet little theme and they just expand upon it, but also the rhythm in this. In all of their music, it just feels like you're on the train. You're just riding the train. And you're clippity-clopping down the tracks, and you're hit a good pace. Everything about it just flows. There's nothing jarring. There's nothing painful. If you don't get into the vibe, I can see you don't get into the vibe, but it's just every little bit of it's interesting. Every 20 seconds, they're introducing a new sound, a new guitar sound you've never heard, an expanded guitar sound. It's the same guitar sound, but like weird in a way. They just have such a alternate way of turning every little bit of their music that I can't get enough of it.
Also, I like on Soon, we've talked about the quiet loud kind of thing. On Soon, it does it so well because it just starts off just pretty calm, and then when he hits that fuzz pedal and it just explodes, it's just like love that. And
they have a way of being heavy without actually sounding like metal.
Right.
Yeah,
it's very dense.
I was going to say that it's a dense. Dense is a great way to put it. It's a dense sound without being like harsh.
Yeah, wall of sound. I mean, that's like the whole wall of sound. With the guitars and the effects and the layers and I mean the legends of how many tracks they laid over for each each recording of each song on this album is legendary. Yeah, the layers and layers, takes them 20 years to put out another album because it takes them a year to make every song, It feels like. Yeah,
interesting you say that. I mean, like after Loveless, they were trying to do another one, and they got dropped from Creation, I think, and Sire because of the prohibitive cost to make this album, and it took them years to make this album. And when it came out, I don't think it was a big deal. Now it's widely revered, but they recorded a whole bunch of stuff for another album, and then they got dropped, and it just kind of disappeared until they showed back up with MBV. But
I feel like we have a theme here, the similar way that Jeff Buckley had a singular moment of critical acclaim and a cult following that followed it. My Bloody Valentine has that as well, even though they're all still alive and ostensibly putting out music. I don't feel like it's that much different, the amount of output that they have versus the amount of output Jeff Buckley had. They both have some short, small amount, but it's very intense. And I kind of almost don't want My Bloody Valentine to put out any more stuff. I mean, MBV, their second album, 20 years later, was really good. I mean, it was great.
It was way better than
Loveless.
Okay, yeah.
Sure.
Loveless for sure. It's a legend.
It stands alone. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But MBV was as far as like semi-modern era comeback albums. A lot of shoegaze bands did that, but man, that album MBV is way better than it had any business being, and it was way better than I was expecting. That's another great one. I mean, if you decide to do the homework and listen to Loveless, and if you're like this is good. Then fast forward, 20 years and listen to that next one.
There's more of it. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's 20 years later. It's, they have their thing. That's their thing.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to talk you into it, but hopefully you understand why we appreciate it. That's just kind of, it hits where we are.
Well, I do. And like I said, I've ever so slowly started gaining an appreciation for it, especially like, Clay and Chris kind of got me back into playing guitar a couple of years ago, but kind of from an effects angle as opposed to just picking it up and playing again. Yeah. And now that I've got an appreciation for like effects and distortion and fuzz and all this other stuff going on, I'm just like,
this might be your band, man.
I start listening.
Deep. You can go way deep on gear with this band.
With I start listening with that angle on it now that I'm kind of, my head's in that space, and I've started re-listening to a lot of music with that kind of criticality, but it's been an interesting ride, and like I said, I'm really still just kind of dipping my toes in the water with My Bloody Valentine, but I like what I've picked up so far, so I feel like eventually I can get there.
Now these little earworms that we have been talking about, do they I'm curious what your thought is, because clearly Coco and I love this and we're huge fanboys and all that, but you being in the middle with it, do those little earworms, do they grab you, do they stick in your head, or do they annoy you, or what
They don't annoy, and that's what kind of the point I was making earlier with like Fatboy Slim and Daft Punk, where it's like it's really song specific, artist specific, whether or not intense repetition annoys me or not.
Bag raiders,
but whereas those guys, their repetition just annoys the hell out of me. We were listening to Soon earlier, and I was listening to it yesterday, and the repetition doesn't bother me at all. It's like, I don't know. It's the repetition isn't there for emphasis. It's the song.
It's the thing, right?
They're not trying to hit me over the head with loop after loop after loop. It's just. It's built into what they're trying to convey to me, and I appreciate it, and I'm along for the ride with it.
Think about
the repetition in this context does not bother me at all.
Yeah, think about Genius of Love, Tom Tom Club. That
okay. Oh yeah.
It's It kind of reminds me. It's the same kind of thing, but that's over and over throughout the whole song. It's completely.
Well, yeah. I mean, some songs are built on. I mean, you take a song like the first one that jumps into my mind is like "With or Without You" by U2. It is 4 bars of the same thing played over and over and over again, and the only thing that changes are the lyrics. But it's still a great song from start to finish. The repetition doesn't bother you, and it's, or at least in my opinion. But I don't know. Like I said, it's very specific, and I love electronic music, and there's a lot of electronic music. I love the Crystal Method, the kind of early to mid 2000s EDM group, and a lot of their stuff repeats incessantly, but for some reason it doesn't bother me there like it does with Daft Punk or Fatboy Slim. But I don't know. Like I said, it's really case specific for me. But with My Bloody Valentine, what I've gotten into so far with them, I really appreciate it, because like you said, I mean, there's so many times where a song that you're into, you don't want it to end, and they kind of seem to lean into that with some of their stuff, and especially like what you guys were saying with live performances, they'll play a song that's easily twice as long as the recorded version, and everyone just loves it even more.
We ate that up, man. We ate it up, but we don't mind if it just keeps going. Now, Coco,
Oh, yeah.
you've listened to this album, longer than me. Does it? Whenever you listen to it, are there specific times and places in your life that, or moments, or just times where you connect with this album? Does it? Can you say, like, if I hear Loveless, I think about this time, or this instance, or when this thing happened, or is there anything you have associated with this album, really?
No, it's funny as you're saying that. I'm like, when I think about Grace by Jeff Buckley, the song we played previously, that puts me in a time and place exactly where I was in Boston, the time that I lived there, who I was hanging out with, what we were doing. But Loveless, I mean, I have the initial memory of, I don't even remember. I'm pretty sure I bought it at Hastings in Longview. But I don't have any other memory because it's just so pervasive throughout all of my musical. It has always been.
Yes, it's always been there.
On rotation. It's just one of those albums where I would just put it on, and I don't really even, as a matter of fact, unless I really stopped and thought about it, I don't think I could tell you how any one of the songs, if you gave me the title, I couldn't tell you how any one of the songs goes. I wouldn't go, oh, soon, that's the one with the, whatever. I'd get it wrong.
Yeah.
Because it's a whole piece to me.
That's right.
I don't
That's
even
so
think,
true.
like, if you send me a track, I'm putting the whole album on.
Yes.
Right. And they're one of the few bands that's like that to me. It's the single is the album Loveless to me. So it all exists as a whole for me, I think. It's interesting. I'd never really thought about it. Good question. I never really thought about it that way, but that's true.
I feel similar because this album it's been there like for a long time. I think probably the first way that I discovered it is you probably sent it to me on tape, or you might have sent it to me on CD. And I think I might have listened to it, and a couple of them grabbed me.
Probably tape.
And we probably talked back and forth. You're like, hey, did you ever listen to that? And it took me a minute. But like eventually, at some point, it really got its hooks in me. And it became one of those things that I just, when you're really just not sure what you want to listen to, and you're not sure how you feel. You're not sure how your day's going. But man, something about Loveless, something about it just like really... It's just like, it's chicken soup, man. It's something. But I can think about a time in my life when I was like, probably it was like 2001 or 2, 3, something like that, when I was living away from home for the first time, and I would go to rock shows, and I had a friend named Angela, and she would come with me, and she's like an opera singer now and stuff, and she was a music student. But we were buddies, and we would go to these shows, and for some reason, like at the end of shows, like it's late at night and we're driving home and we're in the car, and Loveless, we just put Loveless on, and we just listened to that entire album, and we're driving from Fort Worth to Denton, or from Deep Ellum to Denton or something like that, and it's about it could be 40-45 minutes depending on traffic or something like that. But something about this album, driving it home late and you're tired and you're listening to this album, but then
it hits.
Man, it hits all the buttons somehow, and then
so soothing.
And then this track ends the album with energy. It's not a calming come down. It ends with energy. Like I could start my day with this track, and it'll energize me. But that's the one at the end, and I'm pulling into my parking space in front of my crappy apartment on McKinney Drive in Denton. It's called Apple Creek Apartments, and I'm pulling in, and it's 1:00 in the morning. But this song is on, and I'm just smiling. I'm like, what a great day.
Yeah.
That's too cool. And that's part of the reason we do the show, is like we have all of these connections to this music that just go above and beyond the artist or the album or the song or whatever. And it's really cool to hear, this album that I'm just now getting into is something that 20 plus years ago you were like really vibing hard to after a live show in Denton.
Yep.
It's just the trajectory that this music takes us on is just incredible.
It really is, man. It's
and here I am not having given it much of a thought until the last couple of years, where I'm just like, you know, I wish I could have given this a better due before, but better late than never, exactly. I guess. But
well, I feel that way kind of this is Coco. You're gonna hate this, but I'm okay. Oh, Mikey, no. you gave me a homework assignment a while back to listen to "Rumors" by Fleetwood Mac, and and I started listening to it this week. Coco hates it. It's okay. We don't have to talk about it. But for whatever reason, man, there's that album, man. I get it. I'm starting to get it. Okay.
Corey is like visibly disturbed.
I'm so sorry. But there's a correlation, right? Because Mikey is trying to get into Loveless, and he was getting me into Rumors, and Coco's along for the ride.
But I have been into Rumors. I've been into Rumors for a really long time. I love that album, and I love Fleetwood Mac.
It's not uncommon. I mean, it's like it's supposed to be one of the greatest albums of all time. I mean, I get it.
It's supposed to be.
It's just not one of my. It's not my thing.
It does not land with you. I get it. I really get it.
You know, I didn't care for Sgt. Pepper's either. I like parts of it.
Oh boy.
Funny.
I mean, we've had that discussion before. I'm really kind of that way with the Beatles in general, but that's funny. Clay went there.
Yeah, because we were talking the other night, and I brought it up, and he just shut me down quick, and I was like, "Whoa, okay, we're not talking about." I'm sorry, we won't. And we changed subjects really quick to something else. I don't know.
I don't want to alienate anyone.
Hey man, I got songs and bands that I hate, so it's cool.
It's like if you got front row tickets to the most popular modern country singer, just give them to somebody else. It's not my thing. It's fine.
Yes.
I don't care. I want you to have fun. It's just not my thing.
Yes.
I don't judge people for loving Rumors. Like you said,
that is the best way to put it.
Oh, that's good
advice. The thing about well, let me just say this about your podcast, and I'm so happy you had me on, and I really have enjoyed it. And I'll say that as we are, advancing in age beyond our, I feel like the time for music discovery for most people is in their teens and in their 20s, and then they're stuck in that music until they're into their 70s and whatever. And that's pretty much true for everybody. And I remember being in my 20s and 30s and thinking, there's no way I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to want to know new music and find new music when I'm in my 40s and my 50s. And that is actually not really the case. I mean, I like what I like, and I don't like what I don't think I don't like. But what your guys doing is you're turning people on, and you're giving them without actually, it's kind of cool, without actually making them listen to the song. You can listen to a couple guys talk about it, and then you can have a different perspective when you go in and listen to it. And so I think that's a really good idea, and I'm hoping that people, will really latch on to what you're doing with this podcast, because that is fun for me. And I mean, I would be more likely to listen to you guys do an episode about some song by Fleetwood Mac. And I mean, I may have, and at the end, maybe I would listen to it. You know what I mean? I'd probably still hate it, but.
But the conversation would be interesting at the very least.
That's really what it's all about, man. Right?
And I don't know if you've listened to every episode or not. There's even been a time or two where, like, I know with the Third Eye Blind episode, I shared a song with Clay that I don't.
That was a one-off. That was strange. Like, that was awesome. Great episode.
Yeah, interesting. Semi Charmed Life. It took Clay like 5 minutes just to get over the fact that I shared that song. He's like, dude, why did you share?
Yeah, a couple times in the episode, I was like, what is happening?
I love so many songs on that album. Yeah. I just love them, but that one, I've got negative connotations with it. I've got, and the song itself, I mean, it's catchy, it's poppy, whatever. I don't care for it. And I never will.
It's funny, because that album, I don't know if it was Clay that was telling me, but somebody was saying that album is, in spite of its being maligned for that pop song or whatever, is supposed to be really great as a whole.
Oh, it's amazing.
And
it's amazing.
I just would have gone, this is a band who has that stupid song. I'll never listen to this. But since I know that now, I should go listen to that album.
We were,
dude. That was us from
Clay
day one.
And I for 20 years, over 20 years. That was Clay and I, and then Clay shared. I think you shared Graduate.
Probably was the one that
just
got
out
me
of the blue.
fired
You're
up.
like, dude, this is a jam, and And I was like, yeah, it is. And we slowly kind of rolled into the rest of the album. We're like, holy crap, this album is amazing.
We talked about it a couple times that, like, for whatever reason, we just thought we were way too cool for Third Eye Blind, like, in the day. And then...
Well, I can say that I can sense that Michael doesn't think he's too cool for My Bloody Valentine. So that's good.
No. I'm not too cool for My Bloody Valentine. I am too cool for OK Computer, but I'm not too cool for My Bloody Valentine. I'm gonna let it.
I'm just a guest on this show. I can't comment.
I'm going to keep letting it work its magic on me, because it is slowly starting to put its hooks in me, and I appreciate the share just as much as I'm sure you do, Corey, because I appreciate the perspective, and again, just like you said, like it's the perspective that really gives new life and meaning to some of these songs that I might not have ever given a chance to before. Otherwise, it's like knowing like y'all's history with My Bloody Valentine, and like with Jeff Buckley, Corey, like your passion about Jeff Buckley and his whole life trajectory, career trajectory, and all that, and then just kind of the mystique around his death and what could have been and what might have been, that sort of thing, and it's just it's a lot of new perspective that gives me reason to revisit this music, and that's really a big part of the heart of what we're getting at with the podcast. So.
We like to just kind of put stuff out there that he puts out stuff that I'm might not have normally listened to, and vice versa, and sharing these experiences together puts us on this path, and we're just like, I want to know more about this now, and just we want to be a friend to the listener, just like Coco is a friend to me, and Michael's been a friend to me. It's like, listen to this music because I love you, and you will like this music, and I'm giving this to you as a gift.
And I think Clay and I are both very careful.
That's what we want, as part of the show, is to bring that stuff to you that you might not have normally heard. But if you're listening to this for some reason.
And I feel like, Clay and I are both very, like, open to what the other one has to share. And even if it's not your jam, like, I know Van Morrison was your jam, especially the song Crazy Love. But you were open to listen, and you were intrigued with the story behind it, and it is a great story. But it's like, this song that I have just has been a piece of me since I was a kid. And you're like, but you were still receptive. You didn't tell me, oh, dude, Van Morrison sucks, man. Why are you sharing that with me? And, neither one of us are that way. Like, if you share, even when you shared the Smiths, and I was just like, huh. I didn't get it, and I still don't. But I didn't tell you, dude, the Smiths sucks. Why are we even doing this? I'm always going to be open to what you share and why you share it, and so that is the essence of what we're doing here. So.
Awesome, thank you. All right, man.
Let me just say one more thing. I'm gonna bring it back to Jeff Buckley one more time, because you mentioned the Smiths. One of the things that I found last night, I just went down a Jeff Buckley YouTube rabbit hole for a couple of days before coming on here.
Nice.
I found an acoustic version of him singing "A Boy with a Thorn in His Side." It's literally in his basement with an acoustic guitar. It's fantastic. And there's an extended version on YouTube where he goes into
Clay is so excited.
He goes into a bunch of reggae, and it just jamming and talking to the camp to the recording. So that's out there. It all comes around.
Clay, now that you say that, does ring a bell. I might have. Okay, I'm definitely going to go listen to it. I might even clip it.
One other little Jeff Buckley.
Clay is so excited.
Sorry.
The boy with a thorn in his side Behind the hatred there lies a murderous desire for love. Love. How can they look into my eyes and still they don't believe me? How can they hear me say those words and still they don't believe me? And if they don't believe me now, will they ever believe me? If they don't believe
okay, listen.
Go ahead.
Clay, there's one other Jeff Buckley fact I wanted to share. I forgot to say this earlier. I don't know if it was before or after he was chosen as one of the people's 100 most beautiful people, but he was in a relationship with for almost 2 years with Elizabeth Fraser from the Cocteau Twins.
Yes,
Jeff
I remember
Buckley.
that fact now.
Oh.
And Elizabeth Fraser, the Cocteau Twins. They were together for a couple of years, and the rumor is that they recorded a song together, but it has never been released. So I don't know about you, but
Interesting.
there happens to be another little Jeff Buckley song out there somewhere. I don't know about you, but I take comfort.
I take great comfort in that, knowing that he's out there. Well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, this has been probably the greatest episode that we've ever recorded. It is episode 30. I'm so pleased that we got to have Coco on with us. Will you please come back and do this again sometime?
Corey,
Absolutely.
This was so much fun, man. Thank you so much for coming.
So much fun. Enjoyed it, guys.
Awesome, guys. All right. Well, in the meantime, remember, music is a gift. Let's share generously. And that is it for us. And we will catch you on the next one. Mikey, what do you got?
Man, just again, we always close out with that line, music is a gift, and it truly, truly is, and it keeps on giving, and especially with these older, more established tracks, things like that. I mean, it continues to give, especially to someone like me who's newer into someone like My Bloody Valentine or is not as familiar with Jeff Buckley, that sort of thing. It's a gift, and each episode is just. I look forward to unwrapping what's put out there. So
me too, man.
So again,
I love this thing more than anything, and
I appreciate it.
I'm so pleased. I'm just thankful for every single listener and every single follower. We're up to 22 followers now, and we've had upwards of almost 450 episode streams, and I cannot express how thankful I am. We just started this thing as just like joking around.
Just two buddies who love music.
And here we are 30 episodes in.
Just not to draw it out any longer, but when we first started this thing, we didn't really even have the format established. It wasn't until the second episode where you were like, "Hey man, let me just send you the song while we're on the air." I'm like, "Okay," and it just kind of rolled from there, and it was.
It is funny to listen to
it's
old episodes,
ride,
and to hear the genesis of it. Okay, all right, well, okay. We've been 6 months.
Episodes,
We've been making this for 6 months, and we're talking about it like it's 5 years ago. Okay, whatever. Anyway, that's what we got. Michael, I appreciate you sharing that. I agree with you, man. What a great show. What a great time. I'm not saying our show is great. It's okay. But what a great time it's been. And thank you guys so much for listening. And, share it with your friends. And we will catch you on the next one. Thanks, everybody. Goodbye.
All righty. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Hey, we really appreciate you listening to the show. If you've enjoyed what you heard today, go ahead and check out the rest of our episodes and share them with your friends. Be sure to follow us and find us on Instagram at I Got a Song Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at I Got a Song Pod. And we would love to hear your voice. So leave us a Google voicemail at 323-903-SONG. Thanks a lot. We'll see you next time.